Hey everybody, I don't know about you, but as you've watched out over the world, the war in Russia and Ukraine is not just isolated to Eastern Europe. It's spread all over the world, and you can see it in market instabilities. You can see it here. People who do not think that that war is affecting you, all you got to do is look at gas prices. You look at your food prices. You see the global change that has happened. But you know something that's also affected investments as well. And I've said all along, legacy precious metals is your navigator. They're the ones that see you through to get to the next level. The good news about this is even with market volatility, market instability, you've got options. And gold prices are rising as investors turn to gold. And gold presents a hedge against this inflation and that protects you against the weakening dollar, which we are seeing. Legacy Precious Metals is the only company I trust to deal with gold and silver and the other precious metals. You need this investment. You need this as part of your portfolio to keep you buffered from what we're seeing in the world, war and volatility in the market. This is where you need to be. Call Legacy Precious Metals today. Be proactive about this. Get on board with it. Call them at 866-528-1903, 866-528-1903, or you can download their free investor's guide at legacypminvestments.com. legacypminvestments.com, your navigator in a volatile world of investments.
Do you want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered, and this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun.
Hey everybody, it's Doug. Welcome back to the podcast. Glad to have you here riding along on the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, for the days that so many of you are looking for deals and shopping and you've been going at it. And frankly, though, they extended it now over the past month and a half. So, I mean, it doesn't have the special zing that it once had. But it is the day after Thanksgiving. It is the day after going and, hopefully being with family, being with good friends, eating probably more than you should. Deciding today that is not the day to restart a workout program because you really are having trouble probably rolling over in bed. Well, today I just had that thought that, leftovers are great things. Leftovers are things that you get out of the refrigerator, you take them out, you eat them. And frankly, for me, turkey sandwiches are much better the day after than they are even the day of. So today what I thought we'd do is on the podcast is we've been talking a lot about elections lately. We've been talking about a lot of other just issues that have been going on. And you got one coming up, and I'm going to just preview it now. Coming up on Monday, you don't want to miss. We're going to have John Burlaw is going to be with us talking the FTX scandal. You want to be a part of on our Monday podcast as well. But today, I wanted to do what we'll call just like the leftover categories, things that we've just not had a chance to pick up, things we've not had a chance to really dive into. So I just want to spend a little bit of time while you're out shopping, you're listening, you're riding around, maybe even some of you are getting up and doing some exercise. And let's talk about this. First thing up, last year and we've talked about this on the podcast before, that the Democrats' obsession with doing whatever they wanted to do and sort of be damned with the rules, everything else, just doing it because they could do it. At the time, a lot of us said this is going to come back to bite them. This is going to come back and be a problem in the future. What they get done now will come back to be a problem later. The thing that you have to realize in Congress is, and as much as you may think otherwise, Congress is really a body that operates off a very set schedule, offers a very set rule package. It offers a very set, quorums and decorum and how it goes about its business. And my biggest gripe with the Nancy Pelosi speakership over the last 4 years, and especially the last two that I was there, and I wrote in my book, The Clock and the Counter, I wrote about this, was the Democrats would be willing to, end result, do anything they had to do, whether it was taking the rules and practices of the House and throwing them out, whether it was breaking the rules and practices of the House, throwing them out. They didn't care. Because at the end of the day, they wanted to get an end result. It was either get at Donald Trump or it was either to get legislation passed, whatever it was, they were going to do it because they simply had the votes to do it. Simply having the votes to do something is not the best way to do this. I'll use an example that I've used before. Nancy Pelosi and I clashed many times on the floor. One of those times that we clashed on the floor was at a time in which she was giving a speech during impeachment. She accused the President Trump at the time of a crime and called him a criminal, which you cannot do. I know the rules of the House and language are very different. They're there for a reason. But she said that she made the claim. I was handling the bill for the Republicans. I stood up and I said, I'm going to give you a chance to correct your language. She said, no, I've already, approved this. She threw her papers at the well and left. So I had her words taken down, which means that she couldn't speak the rest of the day. It's a parliamentary punishment for doing something out of the rules. She forced then, after having several speakers recuse themselves from a chair, finally Steny Hoyer saying, yep, you did break the rules. She forced the Democrats to come back down and basically suspend it, overrule the chair, and say that what she did was fine and that she could, basically overdo any punishment following that. Why did I say that story? I tell you that story just simply to show you a mindset. All that would have happened to Nancy Pelosi was that she couldn't have spoke the rest of the day. We were already late in the afternoon anyway. She wasn't going to speak anymore on the floor as it matters, but it was the principle and the purpose for her to not be called wrong on doing something wrong on the floor of the House, although she was a speaker and should have been held to a higher standard. She forced her entire party to come back down and to overrule her punishment. Now, this took about an hour and a half, 2 hours to do, but for her, undoubtedly, it was worth it, even though it meant taking 200 plus years of tradition, 200 years as a precedent and everything, and overturning it. I say this to simply say this is what the Democrats wanted to do from the minute they took back power in 2019 and then began into the next Congress. This Congress is just closing up. In this last Congress, they came in and they began to take members off of committees. Right after the Congress was formed last year in January 2021, they began to take Marjorie Taylor Greene and others and restrict them from their committees. And in Greene's case, actually for things that she did before she was even a member of Congress. A lot of Republicans, Democrats on both sides says, look, we don't need to do this. Whatever you feel about whatever happened before she was a member or some of these other members while they were here is one thing, but taking them off of committees, you go down this path, it's going to be consequences in the future. Well, part of that consequence in the future has now come home to roost, and that is Kevin McCarthy, who has gotten the votes to be the Speaker nominee for the Republicans right now. As he is getting it, he made a promise on to TV the other day that Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, and Ilhan Omar would be stripped of their committees. Now, personally, I don't think they should have been on these committees to start with, and especially Swalwell, who had the issue with his dating a Chinese spy. Schiff, who's had trouble with the truth on many occasions, and Omar sitting on foreign affairs and having anti-Semitic comments, all of this while they were members of the body. Now, McCarthy has said they're not going to be able to serve. This was coming. It was known. You could see this coming a mile away. And it's a continuation of really the chipping away of what we have seen that was started really by the Democrats in this idea that we can get what we want and the rules be damned. We saw this in the January 6th committee. No matter what is being said or been said about the January 6th committee, the way it was put together and Nancy Pelosi not allowing the Republicans to have who they wanted on, the leader wanted on that committee, was wrong. Plain and simple. And now it has politicized the entire committee. And no matter what good they thought they were going to get from it has been blown because it's been politicized, and those on the right and those on the left have two different opinions, and it doesn't get done. Folks, this is like life. You've got to be able to play with a set rules that everybody understands. And if you play by the set rules that everybody understands, you may not like them, you may chafe under them, you may adjust them at times, but it's the rule that has changed. You just don't openly defy the rules. And that's what we're seeing in this happening. And then now it's come back to bite. It's now come back to where you're going to start off in January with a contentious issue in which you're going to take members off of committees in retribution for what happened to Republicans who were taken off committees. I get it. I understand why McCarthy's doing this. I get it. It's just like baseball. In baseball, if your batter gets hit, the pitcher, your pitcher the next time up is they're supposed to hit somebody. That's just the way it is. So when you start, calling shots against others, then those shots are going to come back at you. And this is what is really, as we've talked about here, and I've tried to have this conversation even this week on this podcast about our civil discourse, is we've got to get back now that, okay, this is done. Now we've got to set back on a right course in which the rules are obeyed, the procedures are obeyed, and they get to accomplish what needs to be accomplished, and that is the people's business. Remember, it is not about the individual members of the House. The 435 members of the House individually in the frame of our government are frankly not the big deal here. What is the big deal is them coming together as a body that passes legislation that is inherently beneficial to those who elected them, thus the American people. Again, though, random thoughts for today. Here's your first leftover. The leftover is that leftover bitterness, that leftover vengeance from the Democrats and Republicans is coming back to roost. You'll see more of this coming in the next Congress. Number two, this one I have let go because I really, at times, didn't know how to respond to this one. Again, it deals with a gentleman that I've just talked about, Eric Swalwell, and a response that he had to a social media post about parents being involved in their education, being in charge of their child's education. Now, he is a parent. He has younger children. I know he likes to be political, and that's what he did with this. He came back in his answer saying, what's next? Putting patients in charge of surgery and all this kind of stuff. And I think we're missing the point here. The point of it is that parents, long before they go to school, should be a part of their child's education. Long before they ever step foot in a schoolhouse, the parents should be the ones that are doing the teaching. The parents should be instilling the rights, the wrongs, the more. Now, look, before many of you go onto the DougCollinsPodcast.com, send me an email saying, well, what about these kids who don't have, they have broken families? Look, I've had many folks who have came from broken families who have ended up very well because their parents, even in a broken household, were able to instill values. Now, some don't, but there's other members of the community, and there is a community that can provide that. But at the end of the day, if we start in the families and places which these kids come from, you begin the very basics of learning how to read, learning how to talk, learning how to know their colors, know their numbers. Parents ought to have a place in a child's education. In fact, the stronger that a person's parents or guardians or whoever is looking out for them have placed on education, the better these kids are going to be because they understand the value and purpose of education. And for Swalwell to make a snide comment back at this social media basically saying, parents in charge of their child's education, what's next? It's not a defense of teachers. It's not helping the teachers' unions. It's not going after and saying that teachers are, shouldn't be questioned. What it's basically saying is again, this idea that the government knows best. And that just because you're sending your child to a public school or private school or anywhere else is that you're abdicating your responsibility as a parent to educate your children. It just amazes me at the tone deafness of Mr. Swalwell in this. It just does. I've known him for a long time. And more and more lately, just the tone deafness of the political answer has been coming out more. But to simply say, there's no one here saying that the parents ought to come in and teach. I mean, should the parents be concerned about maybe what's being taught in the classroom? Sure. They have their values. They have their information. They want to make sure that their child is being taught, to read, to write, to have, to learn how to count, to do math, to do the social, to do those things. The unfortunate part is for someone who, like myself, who has had a wife who has been teaching, who taught for over 30 years. The problem is not that we had, frankly, at times parents involved too much in their classrooms. The problem was the opposite, that we had parents not involved enough. They wasn't helping their kids with their homework. They wasn't helping their kids, learn these things. They wasn't putting a priority on education. So for somebody to say this is a great time that we can put parents back in control of education, what they're basically saying, in my mind, it should be saying is, parents, take your role as parents to encourage the children in your life and those around you that education matters. Education is valued. Education changes worlds. Education is truly the golden ticket. When we educate minds, when we let them learn to think on their own and not just simply regurgitate facts, when they learn to take facts and apply it to certain situations, that is true learning. And parents play a huge role in that. If you're listening to this podcast today, and you're a parent and you've got younger children, think about ways that you can help them solve their own problems. Help them think out solutions to the situations that they're in every day. Instead of just doing it for them or giving them the participation trophy, so to speak, help them struggle a little bit. Skint knees with a loving parent beside them is not a bad thing if you will help them get up and understand why they failed to start with. So again, this is not political. I don't know. It's amazing to me that this kind of and today I'm using it as a leftover, taking back out and chewing it again and saying, okay, what's political about the fact that kids need adults and need parents and need those role models that are away from school to encourage them to be the very best that they can be in education. Now, not every one of them is going to go to college and not every one of them should. But every one of them should be literate. They should be able to handle a conversation. They should be able to write their name. They should be able to write a paragraph. They should be able to speak in complete sentences. This is the kind of thing that, again, to have a congressman say that, and make fun of the fact that parents should be in charge of their children's education, and you not take it in the understanding that parents need to be involved. Parents need to have a voice. Parents need to be heard in the sense that they want their child educated and that they want them educated in a proper way. It should be a give and take, that the parents and the teachers understand each other and that they learn where the child needs to be best taught, needs to be best encouraged. That's what happens. Look, we've had a lot going on. It's time that teaching get back to teaching. These teachers be lifted up for the great people that they are, and being able to teach the math, the science, the English, the social studies, the things that need to be taught, and do so in a way that removes the political atmosphere that what we have. It's just amazing to me, Randy Weingartner, that we've seen, talking about the politics injected into education. It's come from groups like hers, the unions that have injected into it. It's the reason teachers are leaving. They don't like this atmosphere that is developing, and we've got to do a better job of it. So again, a leftover thought here: parents, involve yourself in your child's education just as much as a parent would involve them in getting them to sports or extracurricular activities or buying the perfect Christmas present. Make sure that you're in part of their education. In other words, be there when the teacher assigns stuff. Be there to help them learn and to go beyond that and put them into situations in which they've learned themselves, where they're actually able to make decisions and to think. The biggest quality not being taught in our public school system today is the idea of thinking. And when we understand thinking as something that is valuable, then we get better in where we are and who we are. So, the couple leftovers here. Number one, we're getting what we asked for from the members of the Democratic Party who chose to break the rules, to break the decorum, and now they're going to get put off committees. Not a shocker there. Again, it's bad when Congress people like Ms. Swallow decided to make fun of parents' role in an education process. Again, it just shows that even in your political point you're trying to make, that we could do better at reminding parents and reminding those guardians that these kids are our next generation, that education is that golden ticket, and we need to get them the best that we possibly can by helping them become all that they can be. Third leftover, and this is one that's been building. It has been amazing to watch that in the Biden administration blame everything in the world except themselves for inflation. And if you go back to even last year when the COVID package was put in and more money was put in the system, a lot of which that money has still never been spent on the state level. But yet we're putting it in people's pockets. There's money to be had. And they were warned that if you do this, you will accelerate inflation. And there's nothing more obvious in the Biden administration than this issue of inflation when it gets to this idea of what we are looking at in our economy. You go back to January of last year, 2021, February of 2021, basically 1% non-existent inflation. And now we're back up to 7-8%. It's been as high as 9%. And a lot of that is because of a misunderstanding of where the economy was and putting more money into an economy that already had some inherent problems. Now, they've tried to blame, Putin invading Ukraine. They've tried to blame, everything else. But the reality is when you have a supply and demand issue, this is going to be a problem. Now, a year ago, and look, the raising of interest rates, which they've now raised, I think 3% is or more, 4% in the last, I was trying to figure out in the last 6 months, is having the desired effect. And what it's having the desired effect is that people are getting laid off. The economy in some ways is slowing, but it's slowing in a way that concerns me. And that's why I wanted to put it out here today. New home sales are dropping. Car prices are dropping. Some of that you may look at and view as a good thing. If you were a consumer and you were wanting to buy a house in the past couple of years, especially say down here where I'm at in Georgia and other places, you were paying list plus. I mean, we were seeing houses down here, and my wife has done some real estate. My son was looking at a house, and you were having houses, number one, that were overpriced for a market from just a few years ago that were being priced out, and people were bidding over the list price. And they were selling. That now is coming down because these interest rates have crept on up, and you're getting to have 5% and 6% interest rates again, which again historically are low, but not when you put that in the rearview mirror of 2% and 3% interest rates, is what we had before. Then you're starting to slow down. That means new home sales are also going to slow down, which means that the trickle effect, liberals don't like to talk about the trickle down effect, but that's exactly what's going to happen here. When builders can't get the loans to build houses, when the housing market is slow, then the folks who build the houses are not going to have work. When the people who don't have jobs because there's no houses to build, then there's not going to be anybody. There's not going to be as much demand at the building supply stores for the wood, the sheetrock, and the appliances, and the electrical, and everything else. This is a trickling down effect. We've got to be very careful here, and I don't think the Biden administration is doing so, into understanding that there were other reasons for the higher inflation, a lot of supply chain issues. A lot of demand that was pent up and brought out after the pandemic when people couldn't do a lot of what they wanted to do, and so that spending came up. There needs to be a balance. Otherwise, as many in the economy, and you have it everybody from Jeff Bezos to Bill Gates to others who are simply saying, we're headed toward a very bad year coming up. I want you to look at it from this perspective: is make sure that you have your finances in order. Make sure you have cash available. Make sure you're getting out of debt. Do those kind of things, because the Biden administration has succeeded in pushing us more and more toward a recession that they won't call a recession. Because they still see spending going on, they still see debt going up, and these are the very things that in the long run will tie us down as an economy, and we've got to be prepared for that. So again, I'm just bringing this out. These are little things that I've not had a chance to talk about on the podcast. We want to bring them out, bring them to your attention. But, for all of the discussion, of gas prices, energy prices, we've discussed why and ins and out of, the Biden administration's attack on energy. It's going to be interesting to see how a Republican House and a Democrat Senate will react to each other. But we'll see that coming up here shortly. But what we're going to have to deal with first is the very real fact that our economy is slowing down. And the very result of that was the slowing down of the economy, which will take a little bit more, because the minute you stop some of these big purchase items, the TVs, the refrigerators, the washer and dryers, the cars, and then into the housing, it'll start having a trickle effect onto the industries themselves, and you'll start seeing that slow down. How much still left to be determined. If they continue this pace of raising interest rates at the pace they are, I think it can come real hard real soon. We just need to sit back and watch that. So again, few things, just a random thoughts, but now a fun one before we go. It is Black Friday. It is the day that a lot of folks are out there trying to get gifts. I am so thankful that I am not out there trying to find that perfect kid's gift anymore. I went through that with my kids. I mean, as we go from Tickle Me Elmo to the latest toy, the latest video game, trying to get out there. God bless you, parents. I appreciate you a bunch. But I thought it'd be interesting to say, what is the new toys? And there's been a downsizing, again, with some emphasis on the economy, to smaller toys. But I went through a list that started talking about, toys that are out there that are popular in the hot items. And what I'm amazed at is just what it is and what everything is old is new again. One of the top toys is the Barbie Dream House. The Barbie Dream House has been around for 40 plus years. And here it is back again. Now, it's a little more expensive than it was when it first came out. And it's also a little bit bigger, being about, almost a little over 3.5 feet tall and 3 feet wide. I mean, this has enough for several Barbies if you want to do it. It has a working elevator, has a slide, it has everything. But it is interesting to see that the details on this is that we're going back to actually kids playing with toys and not being in front of a computer all the time. Another one that I like is the Monster Jam Garage playset. I mean, again, working with cars and looking at the tracks and putting it together. It's a 4 foot wide, track that they can load their trucks on, take them up an elevator, start the engines with real lights and sound, and and they race down the ramps. This is good stuff. I think kids need to have more opportunities to get out, use their creativity, use their play. That's it. That's what play should be. It is using that creativity. Lego has a Super Mario Adventures set out that, again, putting things together, I think is great for kids' minds as we go forward. And then again, you do have your dolls. You do have some of your other things that are normal. But again, for the younger kids, a lot of the Fisher Price is still out there. So again, one I really like too, and some may not like this, but it's the Nerf N-Strike Hyperfire toy. Again, with these little Nerf darts that are being shot out of this little Nerf gun is again a very popular topic and a very popular toy. Marvel stuff is out there. Anything that gets kids out playing, gets kids out thinking, gets kids out, in looking at the world, get them outside. I mean, this is something that I think is lacking so much in our world today. We got to invigorate the kids' mind. And starting today, think about that in your presence. Is there something, and is there, and you don't have to just get them all books or crayons or something, but, work in, something that would take them outside, maybe a basketball, maybe a football, maybe it's a frisbee, maybe it's just something that would get the kids outside, or maybe there's some games out there that you can get that actually makes them think, and there may be books. Look at that. Those are some of the great choices and ideas that are coming out this year for the holiday buying. And I would encourage you, Christmas, is just around the corner for us. And there's going to be a lot of things bought. In these leftovers that I've talked about today, it really comes back down to, planning for the future, whether it be financially, whether it be their education, or understanding that, our decisions do have consequences, and the Republicans are going to enact some of those consequences on the Democrats in the House when they get back in. Not something that was unpredictable, because it was very predictable. I predicted it, and many others did as well. So I hope you're out there having a great day on your out shopping day, out recovery day. Eat some more turkey, eat some more ham, have some more dressing. Do it all, because, these are great times. Have some more time with families. I hope you have a great and wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back here again on the Doug Collins Podcast. Hey everybody, MyPillow. I just wanted to let you know MyPillow is having the biggest sheet sale of the year. You have all helped build MyPillow into an amazing company that it is today. And now Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO, wants to give back exclusively to his listeners. The Percal bed sheet set is available in a variety of colors and sizes, and they're all on sale. For example, the queen size is regularly priced at $89.98, but it is now only $39.98 with our listener promo code. Order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. You're not going to be able to get it. These Percal sheets are breathable. They have cool, crisp feel. They come with a 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible offer. There's a limited supply, so be sure to order now. Call 1-800-986-3994. Use the promo code Collins, COLLINS, or you can go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, and use the promo code Collins, COLLINS. Lisa and I sleep on these sheets every night. You will want to have them as well. They're a wonderful product. Go right now, either 800-986-3994, code word Collins, or go to mypillow.com. Also use the code word Collins to get this discount. You will not regret it.